Hello, everyone. My name is Davian Martinez, and the topic I will be going over today is resolved that Congress shall legislate which vaccinations shall be required for all residents of the US. The only exception to vaccination requirements shall be for medical reasons and shall require confirmation by an independent physician. I had a lot of fun researching and putting this together, so I hope you all enjoy it. Let's get started. So what is today's government role in vaccination? Federally speaking, it's fairly limited and there are no national requirements regarding mandatory vaccination. The role primarily is regulating the development and approval of vaccines, as well as distribution requirements. Vaccines must be licensed by the FDA following extensive studies addressing the safety and efficacy. All 50 states do have their own respective mandatory vaccine laws, each with their own rules and regulations. Today's paradigm. So the COVID-19 pandemic has changed many people's views on public health. Our nation's poor management in the wake of the pandemic also speaks to the susceptibility we as a country are to infectious disease. Furthermore, the resurgence of vaccine preventable disease, VPDs, such as pertussis and measles, is becoming more common in the United States every year. In conjunction with these factors, increased global population and environmental changes have many people worried we are too exposed and feel legislation stating, resolved that Congress shall legislate which vaccination laws shall be required for residents of the US. The only exceptions to vaccination requirements shall be for medical reasons and shall require confirmation by an independent physician. This idea, however, has been met with strong opposition. Many people feel the federal government has no right dictating the healthcare of an individual. Moreover, numerous members of the population feel it is not safe and ethically unjust. Herd immunity. Herd immunity refers to the indirect protection from disease that can occur when enough people are vaccinated. The threshold depends on the pathogen. The tragedy of the commons. Many of you may be familiar with this essay, but to summarize, it describes the challenges presented when societal interests conflict with an individual's interests. In this case, a community free of infectious disease due to high vaccination rates can be seen as the common. Although no unimmunized individual is free of risk from infectious disease, the herd effect generated significantly reduces the risk for disease for those individuals. According to the CDC, there are an estimated 10 million Americans with compromised immune systems, but a statistical analysis from Harpaz et al. Concludes the number of Americans ineligible for immunization is over 5% of the population. Taking into account this data, the fact of the matter is nearly every American eligible for immunization must be in order to maintain these herd effects. Economic impact. The economic costs of disease are significant. COVID-19 alone has cost the global economy $8 trillion and currently mounting. Hospitalizations from infectious disease result in 20 to 30% of lost household income. And for most Americans living paycheck to paycheck, this would be crippling. Families of people who die from disease lose up to 15 years of income when taking into account medical bills and funeral costs. A study by Fauci et al. Published in 2010 estimated decreasing tuberculosis fatalities by 50% would save the global economy $12 billion a year. And in 2019, the US spent $3.8 trillion in healthcare alone, which was roughly 17% of the gross domestic product. Considering that a vaccination costs roughly $30, it's simply just good economics. Implementation success. So in 2015, Australia implemented legislation closing off non-medical exemptions from immunization. Individuals who fail to meet the immunization requirements would no longer receive childcare benefits or childcare rebate payments. Australia projects the measure will save taxpayers more than 500 million over the next 5 years. Australia already had around a 90% immunization rate, and the change has increased childhood immunization rates by 3%. The HPV vaccine is one of the required immunizations, and the implementation has worked so well, Australia is on track to eliminate cervical cancer by 2028. What about the United States? Well, domestically, the data is in. A comprehensive statistical study out of the University of Georgia found that states who only allow medical exemptions, which are California, West Virginia, and Mississippi, had far fewer incidents of VPDs than the rest of the country. Specifically, these states have 38 fewer cases of pertussis per 100,000 compared to the states with the most lenient vaccine requirements. Okay, adverse side effects. Vaccines are neither perfectly safe nor perfectly effective, and in many cases, individuals will experience adverse side effects. Some are minor and may cause rashes, swelling, and blisters. Anaphylaxis is not an unheard of reaction, and in many cases, it is very difficult to know which vaccine elements will cause a severe allergic reaction. One of the most severe reactions caused by vaccinations is encephalitis and may lead to permanent neurological damage. Since immunizations are given at such a young age, it is extremely difficult to identify any pre-existing factors that could result in these reactions. And although the chances may seem minimal, from the eyes of a parent, you can understand how any risk is enough to opt out of vaccination. Although the regulations for vaccine manufacturing have increased, mistakes still happen. Just last week, a plant in Baltimore contaminated up to 15 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. If the mistake had not been caught, the results could have been disastrous. Ethical and civil dilemmas. A foundational principle of medical ethics is that consent must be given before any procedure. Therefore, governments can never force someone to get themselves or their child vaccinated. The very foundation of this country was built on freedom of religion and the importance of limited government. So many people feel any implementation of regulations removing religious exemption contradicts an individual's right to freely exercise their religion. Under the 10th Amendment, the federal government is prevented from requiring state officers from carrying out federal directives. Therefore, Congress is prevented from requiring states to pass mandatory vaccination laws. There are currently 14 live attenuated virus vaccines licensed for use in the United States. Attenuated viruses provide the most robust immune response. However, many of these vaccines exhibit reversion to virulence. In the event a cell infected with an attenuated virus is co-infected with a wild-type virus, recombination is possible and really troubling because of the potential to generate an entire new species more harmful than the wild-type. So Dengvaxia was the first vaccine that completed phase 3 clinical trials and was licensed in 2015 for dengue virus. Immediately, the Philippines launched a very aggressive vaccination campaign. And by 2017, 800,000 children were vaccinated. Well, it turns out this vaccine significantly increased increased the risk for severe dengue infections. Well, what happened? The reason this happened was because of antibody-dependent enhancement. And without getting too much into the molecular biology, this basically happened because the antibodies generated by the vaccine were specific to only one serotype of dengue. So if an individual became infected with a serotype different than what they were immune to, their antibodies could only partially bind to the epitope. And this picture on the bottom right kind of just illustrates that pretty well. So when you have incomplete binding to the epitope, the virus is still able to be taken up by the immune cell. However, it's able to escape the endosome and infect the immune cell. And because it's an immune cell, it also allows the virus to escape and systemically infect the host. This phenomenon is particularly disturbing because it can happen regardless of what vaccine mechanism you use. So even for vaccine mechanisms like whole vaccines or even the RNA ones, these potential results are very real and could potentially happen. So in summary, immunization has a very long history in the United States. Federal government plays a very limited role in vaccination. Herd immunity is crucial for public health. Vaccination is just flat out good economics. And states with strict laws show stronger public health. But vaccines are not perfect and can cause a lot of severe side effects. Ethical and civil issues arise from mandatory vaccination laws, and unforeseen health risks can occur. I would like to say that there is a couple routes for the federal government to mandate vaccinations. There's just a lot of nuance that comes with it that I didn't really have much time to get into. And to offer my opinion, in a perfect world, I just feel like if you're eligible to get vaccinated, you should be vaccinated. Yeah, I had a lot of fun making this presentation, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And here's just a quick list of my references. If any of you have any questions, feel free to comment on the video or shoot me an email. All right, thank you.